because I knew he was an assassin.
Joy.
General Jim Joy, the one who got Noriega out of Panama.
Mm-hmm.
He and Sheehan, the one who was behind the whole operation in Panama. This is a powerful guy. He and Carl Steiner. Mm-hmm. Mutt and Jeff. Waco, they trained all the guys in Waco who went and did what they did to David Koresh. They're the ones behind all the black helicopters and Sheehan. They're the ones, you know, doing all the stuff down there at Kathy McDaniel's down at, you know, in Fort Polk, Fort Hood.
Something new on me. Kathy McDaniel?
Kathy McDaniel's had a little talk show. She's a wife of the daughter of the mayor down there at Fort Polk.
Okay.
The little town outside of Fort Polk. And there were a lot of unusual things happening. And because she was talking about it, excuse me, they took her radio show off the air. And they tried to, it's a long story, but anyway, so General Joy, I got in contact with the NCIS.
That's Fort Polk in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I met with the NCIS guy and a Marine that I just met cold call because I was kind of worried about what would happen to me. Oh, I must tell you about General Joy. I found his name all through the diary. And what was really strange was that George had mentioned him early on in the marriage, but then after a certain incident at Camp Lejeune, which I think is very interesting relating to tailhook and something that I did there. I'll tell you about that if I can remember. I called, it took a lot for me to get General Joy's phone number because the Marine colonels were not going to tell me because they knew I was investigating. So nobody would tell me about General Joy. I called a person in George's address book who was a general, pretending that, you know, I was updating my Christmas card list.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to find Jim Joy's telephone number. He said, oh, he's up there. He's running morale, welfare, recreation for the world, you know, a payoff job with the mob. And he's living outside of Quantico, and here's his phone number. So I call him up, and keep in mind, my husband is infamous, Princeton graduate, chief of staff for Al Gray, who runs all the dirty tricks for the Army. You know, Linda Tripp worked for Carl Steiner, who was a partner of, you know, Jim Joy and Carl Steiner and my husband were the triumvirate in Beirut.
Okay.
And Linda Tripp worked for Carl Steiner down there.
This would be approximately
in the, I think in the 80s. She and her husband were both Delta Force duos. They send them, but then they divorced, so that broke up that. But she's a dirty tricks person, Linda. Anyway, so I call General Joy and I say, General Joy, this is Kay Griggs, and I'm George Griggs' wife, you know, chief of staff under Al Gray, head of half the world, dirty tricks, special operations, wet ops. And he goes, no, I don't believe I know your husband. Exactly his words. And I'm taping it, by the way, because they took my tape. They started coming in and putting sticky stuff and running my, you know, just mind jagging me.
putting sticky stuff
On the tapes, and they would put the tapes on different, you know, they would go to a lot of trouble. They would take things that I said on one tape and put it on another, and I mean, they were having fun with me psychologically. But I taped this conversation with General Joy, and I said, well, that's really strange, General Joy, that you don't know my husband, because I'm sitting here on my bed, and I'm looking at my husband's diary that he kept the whole time he was in Beirut, And you're in there almost on every page, you know, you're in there a lot. And you're going over to Cyprus and Rome, and you're, you know, getting money for weapons, and, you know, and then they're going to Tel Aviv, and they're doing this and that. And you know, I said, you mean you don't know my husband, George Griggs? And you're a Marine, and he's a colonel? He went, oh, that George Griggs. Because he knew I had the diary.
I see.
Then he said, oh, Miss Griggs, let me call you back. Let me call you back. So he had to confer with General Sheehan, General Joy, General Gaiman, General Hartzog, and his little cabal, particularly General Gray and General Krulak. So he called me back, and he was just like a little puppy dog. He said, oh, Miss Griggs, I'm going to be in Norfolk on the, let's see, the night of the 5th, 6th, and 7th. I'll be at a Morale, Welfare, Recreation meeting at the Marriott Hotel, and I would like to meet with you when I get there. You know, I'll be getting in around 5 o'clock, and I could we could go to dinner, or you could come and have breakfast the next morning. We could eat, you know, blah, blah, blah. Or 11 o'clock, you know, now I have to speak at this luncheon engagement. You're welcome to come to that. Or we can meet at, he went through every hour of the whole time. He could not have been more insistent about meeting me if he'd been my father, you know, my birthday or something. And so
you did meet.
I did. But I was afraid of him because I knew he was an assassin.
Joy.
General Jim Joy, the one who got Noriega out of Panama. Mm-hmm. He and Sheehan, the one who was behind the whole operation in Panama. This is a powerful guy. He and Carl Steiner. Mm-hmm. Mutt and Jeff. Waco, they trained all the guys in Waco who went and did what they did to David Koresh. They're the ones behind all the black helicopters and Sheehan. They're the ones, you know, doing all the stuff down there at Kathy McDaniel's, down at, you know, in Fort Polk.